Some of the contaminations can be critical. In this case, with the eye drops, people lost vision and some people died.
Hi, and welcome to GAO's Watchdog Report, your source for fact-based, nonpartisan news and information from the U.S. Government Accountability Office. I'm your host, Holly Hobbs. The Food and Drug Administration inspects drug manufacturers both here and overseas to ensure the safety and quality of drugs sold in the United States. But FDA paused many of its in-person inspection efforts during COVID-19 because of travel disruptions and safety concerns. So now that COVID's over, has FDA recovered? Are inspections back to normal? We'll find out more from GAO's Mary Denigan-Macauley, an expert on healthcare policy who has a new report out on this issue. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Holly.
Maybe we can start with, how did FDA conduct inspections during COVID? What was different?
Yeah, so prior to COVID, FDA sent people on site to the manufacturing company, whether that be here in the United States or overseas, to look to make sure that the drug that is being manufactured properly so that it's safe and that it's working the way it's supposed to work. But during COVID, like everything else, they shut down a lot of the operations, and they had to actually shut down the people going over and doing the inspections for their own safety and for the safety of the employees producing the drugs. So they used what we call alternative tools. Some of those tools are things that they already had in their toolbox. For example, they looked at inspection reports from trusted foreign regulators like Germany. If they had recently done an inspection, then they could say, okay, if Germany was recently there and didn't find any manufacturing problems, we can probably assume that that manufacturer is okay. They used something more frequently than they had used in the past, and that is reviewing documentation from manufacturers, actually looking at the manufacturing via printed materials. As you can see, it's not quite the same as being on site and visually looking at the manufacturing to ensure it's being done properly and cleanly. Sanitation is important. They also use something that's new called live stream video. And it doesn't seem that new to us in this generation, but to be able to have a live stream video in a manufacturing plant is pretty novel. So that was a new technique as well.
Are they still using any of these alternative methods now?
They are. So while the inspection is still the primary tool, they will continue to rely on other regulators that they trust to be able to use their manufacturing reports. They're looking at a hybrid pilot where they have one person inspecting the plant in person, and then they have a live stream video, someone hooking in that way, or reviewing documentations from afar. So they're trying to look at different ways to use the tools to augment the inspection, and that's the key. It's augment, it's not replacing.
So now that COVID is over, are inspections mostly back to normal, back to the normal volume we would have seen before COVID?
So FDA is back up and running. They are doing inspections overseas, and they're doing them domestically as well. And we're back to the trend that we had hoped that they would be, where they're doing more inspections overseas than they're doing here in the U.S. because more of the drugs are being manufactured overseas for the U.S. market. But we're not at the levels that we saw before.
If the number of inspections are down, what does that mean for drug safety?
So for drug safety, those inspections are absolutely critical because it provides that extra eye. If you know that someone's has the potential to come in and look over your shoulder, then you're going to be on your best behavior. And unfortunately, there are some rogue actors out there, but the majority of the drug manufacturing is generally considered to be safe. And it's important to remember that the responsibility falls to the manufacturer. So that's of utmost importance. But having those inspections is still critical. It's important for FDA to go in and to spot check on those facilities that they think are at the highest risk of having some issues.
Why are inspections still down? What's going on at FDA?
Well, there's a variety of things that are going on. Most importantly is the inspection workforce. They're having a hard time maintaining the workforce that they need to do the number of inspections that they need to do. And there are some other factors. For example, there's still a State Department travel warning for China, and so that is going to cause some complications. You still have to consider the safety of the employees. But by far, it's the attrition of the workforce, and we do have concerns there.
So FDA needs more inspectors, and it needs to retain the inspectors it has. Is the agency taking any action to do that?
They are, and it's not the first time that we flagged this issue. We've had longstanding concerns about their ability to retain the workforce. And it's for that reason that we have put them on the high-risk list, saying that their oversight of medical products is in jeopardy because of their inability to retain that workforce. So the high-risk list is our way of putting issues that we have concerns about duplication, overlap, and fragmentation for issues that are of high criticality. In our case, it's actually about transformation. We would like to see a transformation of how FDA oversees the medical products.
Why are inspectors leaving FDA, and why is it so hard to attract new inspectors?
Some of the contributing factors are it's a very tough job. You have a single inspector going over to a foreign country, long hours on an airplane, in the back of an airplane. We have to be careful with taxpayer dollars. Multiple inspections that can be back to back. You can be away from the family for a long period of time, and then you have rigorous reports that have to be written up when you get home. Plus, you're working in different languages and different cultures. So there are a lot of different things that we reported out on are the reason, but primarily it is the pay and the conditions of the work that is causing the attrition, and attrition is much higher than they want.
Mary has told us that FDA's in-person inspections of overseas drug manufacturers have rebounded, but they still aren't at pre-pandemic levels because of shortages of needed inspectors. So Mary, what more do we think FDA should be doing to attract new inspectors and retain the ones it has?
So they're looking at the causes of why the inspectors are leaving. What we'd like for them to do is to come up with a plan to address all of the causes and to come up with a game plan and to strategize about how they're going to keep them. And they are a little bit in a bind because the more people that leave, the more investigators that leave, the more inspections the staff that stay have to do. And they also have to get staff on board and then train them and then get them up to speed to be able to even do the inspection overseas. And so that training also taxes the current employees that are there. So they have to come up with some strategies working across FDA. This is not just one small component. These inspectors are coming from different areas. And so we have raised this to the level of senior management to be able to get an action plan going.
And last question, what's the bottom line of this report?
The bottom line is that these inspections are absolutely critical. If you think back to when we had the eye drop contaminations, FDA found that in an over-the-counter eye drop, some of the contaminations can be critical. In this case, with the eye drops, people lost vision and some people died. So getting these inspections back up and running is absolutely critical in maintaining this workforce. And so we'll keep our eyes on it.
That was GAO's Mary Denigan-Macauley talking about our new report on FDA drug inspections. Thanks for your time, Mary.
Thanks for your time, Holly.
And thank you for listening to the Watchdog Report. To hear more podcasts, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And make sure to leave a rating and review to let others know about the work we're doing. For more from the Congressional Watchdog, the U.S. Government Accountability Office, visit us at gao.gov.